My name is Whitney Schadt. I am an NPC bikini competitor. I nationally qualified last year. I earned my pro card last year in the OCB and competed in the Yorton Cup. I'm also a wife, a mom to three, and a businesswoman. So I try to stay busy.
Well, certainly with all that going on, I'm sure you do. And that brings me to one of the biggest excuses people make is I don't have time for something, right?
Absolutely.
Where do you find that is like a non-factor to you? Like where do you try to be like, yes, I could make that excuse, but instead we're just going to figure it out?
So you have to make the time. If something is a priority to you, you will make the time for it. My alarm clock goes off at 3:45 every morning. I start my day at the gym and then I get ready, go to work. I usually take my lunch break to do my cardio. So where there's a will, there's a way. And when you make that promise to yourself that you're going to do something and then you show up for it, you learn to trust yourself more every day. And every day you build confidence in yourself. So if you just continue to get up and do it, make the time, you eventually have that confidence and it's just a no-brainer. You don't even have to think about it anymore. So I don't think that the no time concept is a good excuse. I think we can always find a way.
And then, I think it's a lot of people's kind of rebuttal to that aren't doing it would be like, I can maybe schedule things out, but what about when, X happens in life or something gets in the way or this thing occurs that you aren't planning for? What would kind of be your, in your situation, what do you do in those regards?
So things in life will come up and will happen, and maybe it's not a good time to be a competitor in that aspect, but you still have to take care of yourself. No matter what's going on, you have to make yourself a priority because you can't take care of the issues at hand if you're not taking care of yourself. So maybe at certain stages in your life, you only dedicate 30 minutes to your exercise routine or, to taking care of yourself, but you need to do that. You need to make the time. And I understand, people have sick family members or things like that. And at that time, no, you're probably not going to spend 2 hours in the gym. And that's when you need to make the priority your family and your health more so than competition. But I think you still need to make the time to take care of yourself just to keep yourself healthy mentally, if nothing else.
And how do you kind of stay in the kind of self-awareness state to be like, okay, situations have changed and maybe now there it is a better time for me to spend more time on myself. Like, do you have like a check-in with yourself on a regular basis, or do you kind of just like, or at this point maybe, or is it just more like a natural reflex to know when and how to do that?
It becomes a natural reflex, but every single morning before I start my day, I do read a devotional and I do check in with myself. And um, I like to say I have to get God in before I let myself ruin my day. But I check in, I see how I feel, and I kind of make priorities throughout the day. Um, so, you do have to continue to check in with yourself and know where you are, but it also becomes, just kind of part of your routine as well.
Right. So kind of going back in time a little bit, at what point did fitness actually become a part of your life and how did it become a part of your life?
Honestly, ever since I was a little girl, I've liked to do things that made me feel strong and powerful. So my parents put me in dance first, but I really took to sports like soccer and softball and anything where I could kind of use my power. And then I can also remember I grew up in the 90s when like magazines were a big thing. So I always wanted my parents to buy me the health and fitness magazines. And I was drawn to it more so for the articles inside the magazine than what the people looked like. Like I loved reading about their routines. Like these women would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and then go for a run and then have their yogurt. And I thought, man, I want to be that when I grow up. So it's kind of always been that way. And then throughout my life, I've always fallen back on fitness um, as something that just makes me happy and makes me feel good. So, over the last 10 years, I've taught group fitness classes. I've been a yoga instructor. We owned a yoga studio, my husband and I, for a while. And then in 2022, I started into bodybuilding. So it's always been something that's been a passion and something that makes me happy.
Are you struggling with the common challenges of marketing and managing systems? Well, let me introduce you to our new sponsor, Big Play Digital Solutions. At Big Play Digital, they specialize in helping fitness professionals like yourself overcome these hurdles. Their mission is simple: to provide seamless support in digital marketing and system management so you can focus on what you do best, serving your clients. Now, here's the reality. Many of us fitness professionals find ourselves spending more time on administrative tasks and marketing efforts than actually working with our clients. It's time to change that. Big Play Digital has the perfect solution. First, they create and execute effective digital marketing strategies tailored to your needs. From boosting your online visibility, attracting the right clients, and boosting retention, they've got your back. SEO, email marketing, social media marketing, content creation, they've got the expertise. But that's not all. They also offer comprehensive system management solutions. Their business management software, specifically designed for the fitness industry, streamlines processes, automates administrative tasks, and enhances client communications. More time, less hassle. The result, a more streamlined, efficient, and profitable fitness business that can compete effectively in today's digital landscape. Sounds like the solution you've been looking for, right? So if you're ready to take your fitness business to the next level, I encourage you to connect with Big Play Digital Solutions. They'll tailor their services to meet your specific needs and help you succeed. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Empower your fitness business with Big Play Digital Solutions. Connect with them today. So throughout your, reading those magazines, it's kind of an evolution, right? Especially of fitness in general. But you have like even the era before the magazine where it was super big in magazines, but then, the magazine era, maybe more like on TV, maybe more now on social media, stuff like that. So how did you kind of navigate those worlds and try to like stay up to date with what's good information versus what's maybe like a sponsorship information or what's like hey, this is kind of weird information that's coming out right now. Like, how did you kind of try to stay above those waters, if you will?
I think checking in with how you actually feel. I grew up in the 90s when low fat, high carb was like the diet thing to do. And um, we now know that, that's maybe not the best. But that being said, I do think that some things work for some people and some things don't work for others. So you can, like you said about the fitness aspects of taking, maybe something from CrossFit or something from other sports, we can do that with nutrition as well, right? So some people may work better on a low carb diet. Some people may work better. I think it always comes back to looking within yourself and seeing how you feel. And then there's, sometimes some red flags on things. If something seems too extreme, maybe you kind of go, okay, I don't know about that. But I think it all comes back to your instinct on a lot of things. If
Yeah.
something seems too good to be true, like a fast acting diet pill, probably not going to work.
Right, yeah. And I think especially as like you start to get into fitness more and more, you do recognize those things. But, for people who are just getting into trying to help themselves and they see those kind of things, it's such like this pivotal moment, I think, because you have something that is that fast acting diet pill or that, that certain diet or that whatever other kind of supplement that's like on the market at that moment that is big within the weight loss community, let's just say. And maybe
Right.
it doesn't work out, and it's like, okay, well, I guess I can't do this. I can't achieve my goal. I can't lose weight. And then they don't try again. So I think that
Yeah.
that's kind of like that very pivotal moment for people, whether they choose to go down one route, which could certainly lead them to a small percentage of, I guess, success, or kind of going that more long-term route that isn't as like glamorous. It's not as marketable.
Yeah. And that's the thing is when people are starting at, they want to, what macros should I be hitting? What this and what you don't have to go to extremes. You have to crawl before you walk before you run. So just making those small daily habits. And I try to tell people to celebrate those small daily habits. If you go all day and your goal was to, hit this macro or go work out, just go to the gym, celebrate that and make that this week, this is what I'm going to do. Next week, this is what I'm going to do. And then when you turn around, a year later, you are a whole nother person almost. But it's just the small things daily. Anything too extreme is really hard to stick to. You can't just wake up one morning and change your entire life. You have to do the small things first and celebrate those. I think it should be fun. I think that health and fitness should be something that makes your life better. It shouldn't be a burden. It should be something that you wake up every morning kind of excited about, and that can kind of change the perspective and keep you on track for a longer period of time.
Right. Yeah. So at what point did lifting weights actually become part of your routine? And, was there a time period where it was like, I don't want to do that?
So yeah, I took like weightlifting classes in high school and kind of dabbled in it. And then when I taught fitness classes, of course it was lighter weights, higher repetitions. But I always thought I should not lift weights because I naturally gained muscle. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be like super bulky, and which is completely silly. But when I decided to try bodybuilding, I realized that it changed my shape. Not only did it change my shape, it made me feel better and stronger. And I did, hold off for a while, like some women do, thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to look like the Hulk. Um, that didn't happen. So I guess it was probably 2022 when I decided to get into bodybuilding that I actually started on a regular weight regimen.
Gotcha. So I think that that's such an interesting comment that you make. And so many people do have that belief of, I don't want to get too bulky or whatever. And especially, it's crazy when you think about it, when you're actually within the world of bodybuilding, especially because that's like, I wish it was, I wish it was that easy. And then there's people out there who don't do it because they're afraid it's going to like have this magic effect on them.
Yeah. Looking back, I'm like, man, I wish I gained muscle as easily as I thought I did. Like it doesn't happen that way. You're not going to wake up overnight. And I've had people sometimes, especially when I'm super shredded, like ready for a show, and they're like, I don't want to be quite as shredded as you. And I'm like, it doesn't happen easy. Don't worry.
Right. Yeah.
You're going to have to work on it. So.
I know. And it's kind of like that, the same thing. It's like, that's what people see. That's what they don't really like. That's the marketable part of it. That's the part that the picture that they see, but they don't read like what's going on, how they got there. They don't understand that aspect of it. And I think, I think it goes back to so much more education, just strictly on like how the body works, what muscle building is, the benefits of it. Like, why would, it's weird that we fear building muscle, right? It's weird that that's because people they're not like, oh man, I really shouldn't drink this weekend because I don't want to gain that weight. It's like, I really, we have like such a backwards perspective on what we think is acceptable and not acceptable.
110%. Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head there. Everybody's like, I don't want to try this diet. It might be a little dangerous. I don't want to lift weights. It might do this. But then you go out and you drink on the weekends, and, that wrecks your body. So you hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah. So what actually led you into the sport of bodybuilding, and what pushed you into it?
So when I turned 29, I trained for a marathon, and I was getting ready to turn 39. And I was like, I need to do something. I thought about another marathon, and I was like, ugh, no. And I happened to actually be in, and I didn't follow any bodybuilders at the time. I didn't like know anything about the sport, but I was scrolling through Instagram, and I saw this woman, and she was in her 60s, and I was like, oh my gosh, if you didn't Zoom, she at 29, like I was like, this woman's got it figured out. So the kind of the superficial reason was I saw this woman, and I wish I could remember who she was, but I thought she had found the fountain of youth, and she was a bodybuilder. And I was like, well, maybe that's something I should try. And, my poor husband, I'd, thrown out other ideas. I was like, maybe I'll do MMA fighting. And he's like, please don't do that. We need you functional. So I texted him. I said, I think I kind of want to try the bodybuilding thing. And he was like, let's do it. So in 2022, we researched, and I highly recommend anybody thinking about competing to research the cost and the time that it's going to take. If you have a spouse or family, kind of run it by them. And then if it's just you, also make sure that it's going to take, the finances and the time are going to be lined up. So we did that, and we planned it, and we jumped right in.
Yeah. It's interesting that you have that marathon experience. Actually, I similarly did that in 2019. I ran my first marathon, probably only a marathon, but
yeah.
very, very similar to what you said, though. I almost wanted something to be like, what am I going to do? It seems like you have that personality or that will to just want to like be doing something and trying to improve.
Are you looking for a supplement company that can help take your fitness game to the next level? Look no further than All Sport Pharmaceuticals. Their cutting-edge supplements are scientifically formulated to give you the edge you need in the gym and in life. Whether you're looking to build muscle, increase endurance, or boost recovery time, All Sport Pharmaceuticals has you covered. And with a wide range of products designed for people of all levels, you're sure to find the perfect supplement for your needs. So why wait? Give your body the support it deserves with All Sport Pharmaceuticals. Visit their website today to learn more and start achieving your fitness goals. Are you tired of struggling with marketing and system management? Well, Big Play Digital is here to change the game for you. Their mission is simple: to provide seamless support in digital marketing and system management so you can focus on what truly matters, delivering exceptional fitness service to your clients. Big Play Digital understands the unique demands of the fitness industry. They've tailored their software and services specifically for your needs. From SEO to email marketing, social media, and content creation, they've got it all covered. Big Play Digital offers comprehensive system management solutions designed specifically for fitness professionals. It's time to take your fitness business to new heights.
Yeah. I think as humans, we kind of need that. We need something to strive for. Of course, every day we go to work, we take care of our families, we do the things we're supposed to do. But I think we also need something that just kind of makes us feel good about ourselves. You can look back and go, okay, I did that, and check the box. So I really, whether it's bodybuilding or CrossFit or chess or whatever it may be, I'd really love to see people that have found a passion that they can kind of go into outside of all the other things they have going on.
So after you did that research and, decided to do it, tell us a little bit about like the research perspective versus kind of like the reality of how that went down. Like how much of it was true to the research versus your experience?
We got it pretty close because my husband's a pretty smart finance guy, and he, kind of went down the rabbit hole of all the things that we may have to potentially put into the cost aspect. And then we also knew the time aspect. We knew some people do 2 hours of cardio a day plus an hour at the gym. This may be what we have to do. So we kind of got it pretty close, but the reality of it is once you get into it, it is a little different, and then you don't anticipate the energy level dropping at the end of prep. Some cost things come up, of course, that you weren't anticipating. Like, let's say my first year, I'd anticipated doing one show. Well, I did 4. So, there's always going to be some things that come up, hair and makeup, tan, so factor in what you think and then know that it could be more as well.
Right. And then because of that first year being a little bit crazier, what kind of were your thoughts after that first year? Was it kind of a reflection of of any kind, I guess, or was it just kind of like, let's keep going with this?
I definitely left, let's keep going with this, but that first year was wonderful. Like, I checked a lot of things off that I didn't think I would be able to, and I learned to trust myself a lot more because I showed up for prep throughout the year, and then we did more shows than we anticipated. And, and my husband and I got a lot closer as well because he helped me along the way. He actually started training with me. He goes with me every morning to the gym. So it was a really good first year. I definitely want to keep going, but it was 2022 was a great year to look back on. It just really was. Everything that we went through, everything we did was awesome. And I met a lot of cool people in the bodybuilding community as well.
Yeah, there are a ton of really interesting and nice and just people who want to get you involved and be a part of, help you be a part of what they do, whether it's like a promoter or another competitor, a coach. There's so many people out there who are just like, hey, yeah, we can help you with this. And you could literally be your first show and somebody will come up to you and whether it's the gym or whatever, just from stories. And it's like, that kind of community is so cool because it really is it's a you versus you kind of sport for sure. But at the end of the day, you're competing and you would think people would be more competitive in that way, but it's more like, hey, let's just teach and train and help everybody the best we can. And, when it comes to show day, we'll compete then.
Yeah, that was one of the things that surprised me most was how kind and welcoming the people are. I think everybody kind of respects everybody because they know what it takes. And they are it down to the expediters. People are just supportive and nice. That was one thing that I was really surprised about. I thought being an aesthetic-based sport and being competitive, there might be some more, just rudeness going on and things like that, but it's not. People are super supportive.
And maybe it's still something that you are kind of figuring out just being young in the sport. what kind of tweaks or what kind of like things that in your routine, things that you started out doing that you maybe had to change or shift a little bit? Like, what did you figure out in that first year that you've kind of implemented over into this next season?
So next year I will definitely be more strategic. My first year was really fun. I did a lot of shows. And then I took a very short off season. This time I'm taking a longer off season, and I get ants in my pants and I'll start saying, I want to do this show. I want to do this show. And my coach now, he's so funny. He'll look at me and go, stop. We have to be strategic. When you came to me, you said you had these goals. Let's be strategic. So that's going to be the change this year, is taking a little bit longer of an off season so that my body's ready to prep again, building the muscle that I need, and then doing shows more strategically instead of just like, this one looks fun, let's do that.
Right, right. Yeah. I've learned as a huge aspect of the sport is actually that like picking shows and how,
Mhm.
you know, whether it's because this next show is in this time period and we can, have two shows right there, or it's,
Right.
just there's so many aspects to picking that show. I always just thought it was kind of more just like, oh, these are the shows and you're going to do these shows or you're not going to do these shows. But no,
Yeah,
there's a lot that goes into like truly picking what shows you're going to do.
there is, and it's usually like, here's one or two big ones. These are the two that are one or two that's the priority, and then maybe there's a couple in between that you can hop in on, but your body needs the break. I learned that the hard way. I thought that because I can power my way through a lot, I'd be fine, but your body does need the break, as far as increasing calories back and just resetting your hormones and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So strategy.
So when you actually got into bodybuilding and were doing it and were doing shows, were there any people within your circle or, even a little bit outside your circle, community that were kind of questioning your decision to do the sport?
Everybody was most people were really supportive. Of course, people kind of think it's a little weird. You bring your food everywhere, and I do think that was probably one of the things that threw my family off a little. I'm always with these plastic containers, and they were like, you can't have a piece of cake. I'm like, I can, but I don't want to. And so after a few times of me showing up that way, they would continue to question, oh, you don't want it. Don't you feel bad? You don't get to do this. You don't. And I'm like, I get to, I don't want to. And the only thing I want to do is spend time with you. So don't worry about what I'm eating. So that was the main thing, was just to let, having family and friends know that I'm there. I'm not going to stop coming to family events, but I am going to bring my own food and I'm going to do weird things. But as far as the aspect of standing on stage in a sparkly bikini, even my kids, my parents, like everybody was supportive, which I was kind of surprised because I was like, oh, they may, find this weird and be embarrassed by it, but they were thankfully supportive of it.
Like at what point do we lose the ability to have that freedom, I guess, for ourselves to be thoughtful and to almost like have a plan and have like just like any gray area within that?
Yeah, I think people become emotionally attached to food a little bit. And then also, it's odd behavior to think I can't have that cake, but I don't want it. We just get so used to and accustomed to eating the way everybody else eats. But I don't think, you know, I've showed up with my tilapia and asparagus and had just as good of a time as if I was eating the burger and cake that everybody else is eating. There's no emotional attachment there. I get to spend time with my family. I get to have fun. What I'm eating really doesn't matter. And it only takes me a few seconds to eat it anyway, right? Like that's, so I've prepped through my birthday last year and, I didn't have cake. I didn't want it. I've had cake for 38 years. I've never won a bikini competition. I've never been on stage as a bodybuilder. And that's what I kept telling everybody. I was like, 39 years of cake. Cool. I've already had that. This is something new. So I think you just have to kind of almost trick your own brain, a little, and tell yourself those things like, I don't want it because this goal is more important in the end goal is way more important. So
Yeah, I think that's a lot of what bodybuilding is like reprogramming your brain and to like give yourself the control to be like, this is what the long-term goal is.
Yeah, it is. It's reprogramming your brain. It's self-control. I think that's one of the main things that I like about it is, you have to teach yourself to step outside of your emotions and just continue to follow the plan.
Right. Yeah. Following the plan. I mean, that's certainly one thing that I've heard so many times is like, here's the steps. Like it's kind of really basic on like just the X's and O's of here's what you have to do. It's just a matter of like what is going to be what you do. Like, are you going to follow these steps? Are you going to let, your, you're going to let your friends drag you out to a party on Friday night. So then sleep in too late the next day and you miss something, or, it's all kind of, it comes down to like
Decisions.
the decision. Yeah. Like that, literally like every decision.
Yeah. So that's another good reason to take when you're in off season, to stay on a plan of some sort and to stay on your routine. Because when you go into prep, you're in this routine. So you've got 110 things to do throughout the day. You're on robot mode as far as that plan goes. There was a really stressful week in one of my preps, and I remember telling my coach, I'm so glad we've been doing this for 6 months. And of course it wasn't 6 months of extreme dieting, but 6 months of me following that routine, because the week that was so stressful, everything else was robot mode. I was used to prepping my food. I was used to bringing it to work. So I think that routine is so important, and just locking in on every little thing that you do every single day and making it habit to the point that you almost don't have to think about it anymore.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of nuts when you think about just like all of the difference. Like if you did this one thing different, how that would affect your day.
Oh,
It was a
100%.
few episodes ago we were talking about just like trying to save time. Like how does like having your routine, I don't want to say perfect because that kind of almost even puts too much pressure on everything to go perfectly, but like how does having a really good routine save you like 8 minutes or 6 minutes here and 4 minutes there, so you can have like 28 minutes at the end of the day to just like relax and chill out, otherwise you're just like go 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 to sleep.
Yeah, that is important. Like learning how to prep your food and learning how to, do everything that you do on robot mode. Like I said, it's just, it saves you time at the end of the day so that you do have time to relax or spend time with your family or do whatever you want to do. So every morning when I come home from the gym, my routine's the same. I air fry. I like my meat done every day. I don't like to put it in the fridge for a long time. So I air fry my meat. I put it in containers. I do the exact same thing every single day. And that just makes it easy. It's no brainer.
Yeah, kind of finding those life hacks for you, because it's weird because like I said, in bodybuilding there's like this plan that's like almost everybody's doing the very same thing or at least similar thing. Like, okay, we know we're eating this kind of diet, we're training like this, we have this cardio, we need X amount of sleep, but then it's like how do you, because everybody's life is different in some, in a lot of ways, in a lot of times big ways, but in sometimes even just small ways, those small differences can like make the difference between when you do prep your food, when you do go train, all those little things that you kind of have to figure out and then even continue to tweak as life does change. I'm sure, having a family, it's in some ways it adds more variables into like, okay, this kid or this person has this going on, or they're maybe sick this day, so I have to shift the way things are going on this specific day. So, that it's kind of crazy when you think about like the X's and O's are very, very similar, but then how people implement and actually get those things done can be very different.
Right. The application has to be different. And I think what you said was the nail on the head with tweaking your plan. If you have to, over time, situations change, jobs change, kids' schedules change. So sometimes 5 a.m. maybe your workout time, sometimes 5 p.m., but just, making sure you have a plan, that you have a backup plan in case plan A fails, we have to go to plan B,
Right.
is important.
Yeah. I feel like even I'm guilty of doing that sometimes where I put too much pressure on plan A, when I'm like, oh my gosh, if this doesn't go right, the whole day is ruined and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. It's kind of a tricky mindset to get out of in some ways, because I think at the end of the day, most people are like creatures of habit. And if something in that habit is weird or off, it can send us into like this tizzy sometimes. But just like I said, having like because like one example is like if I don't get to work out in the morning, I think about the rest of it, even though I know when I'm going to be working out, if I don't work out, I'm thinking like, I'm thinking the whole day about how I didn't work out and how I still have to work out and how it's going to affect
Yeah.
the rest of my day. It's so
I do
crazy.
that too. Yeah, I do that too. And that might be a type A personality type thing, but I do, you do, if you miss it in the morning for whatever reason, you think about it for the rest of the day and you're like, "Oh, man, either you dread it a little bit or you're kind of beating yourself up for the reason that you didn't make it in the morning." So I think, finding that balance between being strict with yourself and then also going, hey, 352 days of the year, I made it in the morning. So these few that I didn't, then I have to go in the evening, it'll be okay. But we can be a little hard on ourselves sometimes, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. And that's looking at it from that macro perspective. I think it takes a little bit of that.
Looking for a supplement company that's as serious about your fitness goals as you are? All Sport Pharmaceuticals is here to help. Their top-of-the-line supplements are designed to help you get the most out of every workout with ingredients that have been scientifically proven to enhance performance and recovery. Whether you're a seasoned athlete or just starting out on your fitness journey, All Sport Pharmaceuticals has the perfect supplements to help you achieve your goals. Plus, with their commitment to quality and safety, you can trust that you're getting a product that's both effective and reliable. So what are you waiting for? Take your fitness game to the next level with All Sport Pharmaceuticals. Visit the website today to learn more. This podcast is sponsored by Smoking Gun Coffee, a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to give back to those in need. Don't forget to use code TWR10 for a 10% discount at checkout.
Kind of that guilt away, I think, because like you said, if you don't hit your water goal, your step goal for the day, and you're off by a little bit, is it really going to be the end of the world? If you're
Right.
doing what you should be doing 352 days of the year, it's probably going to all work out for the better in the end anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
I think in the grand scheme of things, we would all like to be 100% all the time, but like we're talking about, it's just life sometimes it's not all about bodybuilding in life. We just have to kind of make some sacrifices for one thing and put them into another place sometimes.
Absolutely. It's finding that balance. And there's really not balance in bodybuilding, but being on point, to the point that you can allow yourself a little slack, if that makes sense. Like you're not making excuses, but some things come up and that's just what happens. It's funny you mentioned that about the step goal, because one day this week I was outside like 8 o'clock in the morning walking, or 8 o'clock in the evening, I'm sorry, walking up and down my road trying to finish my step count. I was like, okay, are we there yet? Are we there yet? I promised myself in July I was going to hit every macro and every step, and we can be hard on ourselves.
And it's funny how like when we start, we want like this goal, like this overarching goal of whether it's I want to look like this or I want to, be in this spot competitively. And even if we do achieve that goal, it's almost like we get caught up in the small things sometimes and forget that look how far we have come. Like if I don't drink 13 more ounces of water, like look at where I still am. Like I actually have already achieved pretty much where I want to be. Not that you still can't continue to get better, but like I feel like we don't see, like we're constantly pushing for something, and sometimes we've already even achieved where we want to be, but it's just like that still we're still on that autopilot and trying to figure out like at what point does that become like almost that anti-goal of what you're actually wanted to achieve in the first place?
Yeah, you can stress yourself to the point of, just and then go down the rabbit hole and end up messing yourself up even more than before. I think finding gratitude is so important. Just kind of that's why I do check in with myself every single morning. And you do have to kind of go back and go, okay, yesterday felt crappy. I don't feel like I did my best. And then you have to look back and go, okay, but I set out to do these goals and I did them. And even if it's something small, you're allowed to congratulate yourself on small goals and be proud of yourself. So I think that is super important, especially in fitness and in bodybuilding, to reconnect with the gratitude of how far you've come, and even if you're only a weekend, hey, last week you weren't, this week you are. So
Yeah. And I think looking at bodybuilding from like a long-term perspective too, and being like, if I can implement these habits and forget the competitive side of it. But if I can implement these habits and like learn from what I'm doing now, like what that can actually look like in 20 years or 40 years. You talked about,
Yeah,
seeing that person on social media that was, 60 years old, and you were like, oh, I want
that's
that,
ideal. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, the lifestyle is what I really love. My husband's not even competed yet, but he lives the lifestyle with me. And it's life changing. We feel better physically. We're both almost 40 years old. We feel better physically. We look better. We're happy, and I want to continue that for the rest of my life. So I kind of do want to compete forever. I would like to be that 70-year-old woman, masters, but if I don't, the lifestyle will continue. The lessons that we've learned and the habits that we've picked up will continue. I think that is way better than any like trophy or anything else you can get.
Right. And I think, one of my biggest fears is maybe silly or weird as it sounds, is, people, especially like around my age, being 28, 29, 30 years old, people who are like, how do the what's the phrase they use? I'm trying to think of the phrase. It's I wish I could do that, like, or if I'm too old for that, or just like I can't do that anymore. Like in their
Mhm.
30 years old. And I'm like, that's one of
Uh,
the biggest fears is A, having that mindset, and B, possibly actually being in that reality. Cause I feel like a lot of people aren't actually in that reality. It's just what they've heard, and, their parents have said it, their friends are saying it. So they're, thinking that it's true. But then some people are already kind of like, not that they can't get back to a good, physical health, but they're already like in that place to where, yeah, that in their current health, it's not something that they can do, X,
yeah.
Y, or Z thing, opportunity. But, that's one of my biggest things is I want to be somebody who can truly believe that and really do anything almost at like any age, because there are people out there doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope to inspire people in that way as well. But you are 110% right. There's people who are half my age that are, if you're eating the standard American diet and you're not exercising, you're going to feel bad. And that's going to start presenting itself in your labs and in your health. And we get one life, and I don't want to live that life feeling like crap.
Right.
I want to feel good. And so I do hope that is one thing that I do hope to inspire people, of course, in their 20s and everything else. But as you get older, it's okay to try new things. Like, you are not stuck in the career you're in. You're not stuck in the body you're in. You're not stuck in anything that's a bad situation. You can always get up and make the decision the next day to do better. You can be 40 years old and completely change your life, but you do have to start, and you do have to make it a daily habit. Whatever it is, you have to make a plan, and you have to start to stick to it. But you're never stuck at any age. You can start something new.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that is one of the most, we're talking about the mindset changes earlier about, the benefits of bodybuilding. And I think that's one of the biggest things is how bodybuilding can almost, it like shows you what's possible, and it opens doors for you, and it, allows you to feel more confident and feel more like, oh, I can do these things.
Yeah. And it's an aesthetic sport, so people think, oh, well, you get confident because of the way you look. That is not it. You get confident because of the way you learn to trust yourself. If you can get through a prep, if you can continue to stick to your diet, if you can do things that you didn't think you could do, and you show up for yourself every single day, you learn to trust yourself. And
Yeah.
in turn, you're less anxious.
Right.
It's a
Well, no, I was talking to Sid Gillen, and she was like, that's probably one of the biggest benefits to bodybuilding is like this. We're living in such a like this anxious world, right? Like everybody's worrying about things, and some things, are okay to worry about, but I feel like we worry about things that don't really, A, we can't control, and B, sometimes they don't even matter. But she was like, the structure of bodybuilding, the habitual nature of it, just like how it can make your day go from almost like chaos to just like, hey, this is what I know I'm going to be doing almost every day of the week. Like that can cut down on anxiety so much, because you are now focusing on yourself so much that you don't have time to worry about like, what Aunt Judy is worrying about on Facebook, or like,
yes.
these other problems that you're constantly on your phone scrolling and like taking other people's problems and making them your own anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely. If you take care of yourself and you are busy bettering yourself, you're in turn bettering your community. You're making a difference more so if you're taking that time to worry about things that are going on in your community that are bad. Worry does nothing, absolutely nothing. So, if you make the habits every day and you're making yourself better, you're making your community better. So I agree with her.
Yeah. It's I think it's almost weird to think that bodybuilding has become I don't want to say like mainstream quite of now maybe, but like it's getting more and more mainstream with social media, people becoming more like, oh, let me just try this thing out. Whereas before I feel like it was much more underground and things like that. But just I think the potential to, for bodybuilding and the independent, federations and things like that to spread the message of, yes, we can compete in the sport, we can do it in certain ways, but we can also like make bodybuilding, like you're saying, a lifestyle. And like we can teach people the benefits and getting people over the stereotypes of it and really showing people like how to take care of their bodies, how to, the importance of eating and how if we change what we eat, we can change, our body and our mind and all these different things. Like I think we're in such like this transformational time within the sport of bodybuilding that if done right, it can almost be developed into how do we teach people these fundamental skills, and even if you're never going to compete, how we can implement those things.
Absolutely. And I think for women, it can also be beneficial. You would think something where you are compared to other women in a bikini would make you feel less self-confident or have body image issues. But for me, it's actually been the opposite because I've signed up to be a science experiment, like you follow the plan and your body changes in these certain ways. And then you start to learn the science behind bodybuilding, and it's fascinating, right? So you get into the nutrition aspect, you get into the weight training, you learn how you can change and control the way your body looks so that when you do put on body fat, it doesn't feel like a bad word. Fat is not a bad word to me. I put on body fat in the off season because I need to. So I hope that can kind of help women and men, honestly, with their body image issues as well. So hopefully they can learn that the science behind it is you can change your body and you don't have to just base it on aesthetics or anything else, even though it is an aesthetic sport. For me, it's actually helped. So I think we can help in a lot of ways.
And I think people have body image issues and maybe in a broad perspective, certainly there's individuals who may be be different, but I think a lot of body image issues come from the fact that you don't know how to control that, right? Like if you
Yes.
know that if I do these certain things, then I can lose that body fat or I can put on more muscle or I can just manipulate my body. If I know I can manipulate my body and I know how to do it, then I'm
Yeah.
much more confident in like I'm looking this way because it's a choice right now. Like I'm choosing to do this. And in a lot of ways, people they have made those choices to look, to put on the weight, but they don't necessarily even in some cases know that like they don't understand how nutrition works. They don't understand how food or alcohol works in terms of like why am I gaining weight or why I thought if I cut out all my carbs I would look like a model or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that when we gain that knowledge and we feel more empowered about how to change it, then like
Yeah.
I said, whenever we are looking a certain way, it's like, yes, I'm looking this way, but I'm choosing to look this way.
Yeah, there's a purpose behind it. And you start to understand how nutrition affects your hormones and all of this other stuff. So it, you start to look at your body as what it is, a blessing and a vessel.
Mm.
And let's see it less as, something that you can't control, things that are out of control.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that kind of even leads into more anxiety when you feel like you can't control something. So
Oh yeah.
it's
Yeah, I think that's a cycle a lot of times, people will eat a certain way or they'll try an extreme diet and they can't stick to it. So then they go back to this and they go back to that. And that brings up a lot of anxiety around it. Whereas sometimes if you just simplify it, it just makes it a lot easier. Like here, this day, I'm going to eat this, this, and this, and this. And, I always say, keep it simple, stupid. We don't have to make it too complicated.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think That's a great place to end the podcast. Just keep it simple and be consistent with what, the plan is. Follow the plan, keep the
Yeah,
plan simple, especially in the early days, and just be consistent in doing what you should be doing. I think that's, just in life, for life in general, I think that's a really good piece of advice.
yeah, absolutely.
But I appreciate you coming on the podcast. It was great getting to chat with you this morning.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It was great chat with you.
If you want to, before we head out, if you want to share your social media or, any ways people can get in touch with you, you can go ahead and do that.
Sure. Everything I have is Whitwoo's Fit, WHITWEWSIFIT. That's my Instagram, my YouTube, my TikTok, all that good stuff.
If you're tired of searching for a coach or trainer, somebody who knows what they're talking about and has experience, make sure you go check out the new Coach's Corner on weightroompodcast.com. You can find quality, qualified coaches to help you achieve your goals, whether that's in bodybuilding or just general fitness. Stop wasting time and start achieving your goals today. The link to the Coach's Corner is down in the description below.